Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list I'm going to divide in half because these are going to be my top 10 upgrades. So this week you're going to see the first five and you're going to see the notes that I am upgrading. So technically there'll be 10 notes and then next week we'll finish off the rest. Now, the reason why I wanted to put these out is because, well, if I upgraded a note, what am I going to do with the note that I had? Well, that'll be going into the auction. Think of this as a kind of like a preview of things you may see in future auctions. Now, I've got a lot more stuff in my auction box, so it's not that you're necessarily going to see all of these in one particular auction or another, but these are up and coming things. So if you see anything you like, keep that in mind and pay attention to the future auctions. And of course, when I'm talking auctions, I'm talking about the second Tuesday of the month, where I will put out a video of the 5 items I am auctioning for that particular month. Anyway, you can check out the auction videos later. That's a whole different subject. This is the top 10, and this week we're starting out with the 5 notes that I have recently upgraded. Next week we'll do 5 more. All right, so number 10 this week. Number 10 is a fractional. This is the 3-cent fractional. I was always fascinated by this. This is from the 3rd series of fractional currency. Fractionals were from the Civil War. People were hoarding precious metal. Nobody wanted to spend it. They all wanted to hold on to it. And because of that, it was difficult for businesses to actually sell product. They didn't have change. So the Treasury and the Post Office got together and developed postal currency. And that, as the different series went through, and eventually became known as fractional currency. This particular one is a 3-cent fractional. It's the smallest denomination. You can see it does say fractional currency right there on the bottom. It's the smallest denomination they ever made. They only did it for one series, and it's fairly unique. Here's the back of it. You can see there definitely says 3-cent fractional. This particular one isn't in the greatest of shape, but it is still a very cool fractional to have. This one's been in my collection for a while, just because it's the lowest denomination paper I had. But I had recently upgraded. I did a trade and I was able to get this one, and you can see it's much clearer, much easier to read. You can see just about everything on this one. So this is the one that's going to be going back in my collection. Take a look at the back. A little bit off center there, but no big deal. Still a huge upgrade for me, but that doesn't change the fact that this was part of my collection for the longest time. Side by side, you can see the difference there. So that means this one will be heading off to the auction fairly soon, I think. So that is number 10 on the list. Number 9. Number 9, I have a $10 national currency. And what was cool about this, well, first of all, national currency, let's talk about those. The the Treasury would go around to banks and try to make sure that they were solvent. They were good. They weren't going to go broke. If they met all the requirements, they were then allowed to have the designation of a national bank. And every bank everywhere wanted to be the first national bank of their particular town. That's where you get the first national bank of your town. That's where that comes from. If they weren't the first, they still at least wanted to have the national bank designation. National banks would then be given a charter number, and they could put money on deposit and have notes printed with their bank's name on it because they were the ones backing that particular currency. Okay, so that's all of that. Why do I have this particular note? This particular note here was the Chase National Bank of the City of New York, but this particular one is known as a Type 2. A Type 2 has the charter number here, and it also reprints it here next to the serial number. These were the shorter runs, the shorter printed amount. They started printing these in 1933 and only printed them till 1935. So there were not very many compared to the first issue, which simply has the serial number much more centered, does not have the charter number here. So I managed to upgrade this one. It's a subtle upgrade. It's not much, but it is an upgrade. A little bit cleaner. This particular one happens to be the Emergence National Bank of Watertown, Wisconsin. I'm much more fond of Wisconsin than I am New York, only because I live in Wisconsin. You can see here it's also a Type 2. It's got the numbers here, and it's a little bit better condition. So this one is going to be going into my collection, and this one will make its way into the auction. So that is number 9. Number 8. I have 2 notes. These are both $1 silver certificates from the emergency currency North Africa issue. You can tell that because of the yellow seals. Looking at the back, of course, they do not say "In God We Trust." That predates all of this. These are 1935A. 1935A is on these. And yeah, they're pretty close in condition. And I definitely don't need both of these. This one does have a major crease along there. This one doesn't have the crease, but this one has a little bit more dirt. Does have a crease going this way as well. So I will be auctioning off one of these 2 nationals in one of the future auctions, because I definitely don't need both. I think this one's the one that's going to be auctioned off, but I'll have to look at them real close just to make sure, because they're pretty close. But either way, I don't need 2 of them. I bought one, and I went to compare it with the one that I had, and they're pretty similar. So I will make the decision which one is going to finally find its way into my collection. The other one will be part of the auction. So that is number 7. Number 6. I thought this was pretty amazing. This is from the American Banknote Company, and it's a specimen note. Now, I've seen these for, ridiculous prices when they were graded. That's the back of it there. This is the specimen that the American Banknote Company produced. It says 1929, so I'm assuming that they did this around the time that we changed over from the large size notes to the small size notes, and they wanted to show the government what they were capable of doing. If you take this out of the holder, you can actually feel all of this printing. It's very sharp to the touch. It's very impressive. It does have this smudge on this side. These are roller marks, you can see here. And that's from the rollers rolling the paper through, and then some of the wet ink getting on there. I've noticed that on a lot of these. There are some that are a little cleaner than others. And, well, I found 2 of them. And you can see the top one here. The roller marks are a little wider compared to the ones here. We look at those side by side. You can see how wide this one is, how wide this one is, and how narrow it is here. Checking the back, once again, these are pretty much identical. Yeah, pretty much identical. But, like I said, this one, the roller mark seems to be a little thinner. So I will be keeping this one, and that means this specimen will be going in the auction. So look forward to being able to get your fingers on a specimen note. That is number 7, right? 10, 9, 8, 7. And finally for this week, number 6. This one's pretty cool. I think a lot of you guys might be going after this particular one once it gets out there. This is my $50 Canadian note. This is from 1975. There it is right there. The $50 Canadian note, I don't have to tell you guys about 50s. 50s are not circulated very much in America. I assume it's the same way in Canada because they use the same denominations we do. If you have a $100 bill and you go to break that 100, you're probably not going to get a 50. You're probably going to get some 20s because those spend so much easier. Every place around here seems to have a sign that says we do not accept hundreds or 50s. So we, like I said, the 50 is not very well spent, which means they aren't printed in the same numbers. So from a collectability standpoint, the 50 is a good note to collect. I don't have this because it's a $50 Canadian. I have it because of the rich colors, the very, very cool design there, all the different color uses here. When you think about all the different printings that have to go through to make that work, and the fact that it works, it's not just all smudged together, that is pretty impressive. But what's also impressive is this. The Canadian Mounties on the back here is just mind-blowing. That to me is an incredible picture. The first time I saw this note, I was like, I have to get one of those. And I did. This particular one's in pretty good shape. It does have a light center fold. So, I mean, overall, it's not perfect, but it's really good. Well, I found a graded one. This particular one's graded 53 EPQ, and looking at it, it is pretty nice. I can't seem to find a whole lot wrong with this particular note, so I was happy to get it. And since I now have the graded version of this, take a look at the back there. Pretty impressive, exceptional paper quality on that EPQ, of course. This one will be going into my collection, which means I will have the raw note to put up in the auction. So a lot of you guys have shown a lot of interest in this particular note. It'll be up for auction soon enough. All right, guys, that's the first half of the list. Stay tuned next week when I get to notes 5 through 1 on my upgrades. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading your comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.